Today we're talking about how to avoid gas using negativity. Freebeat. Hey, how's it going everybody? Welcome to Freebeat, where I post new music-related content every single day, so if that sounds good to you, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, let's get started. So today we're talking about avoiding gas by using negativity. Now, really quick for the uninitiated, GAS is short for Gear Acquisition Syndrome, and it's something that hits musicians pretty hard. It's basically the constant feeling of want or need to get a new piece of gear to add to your existing setup. At some point, you've probably found yourself saying, wow, if I could just get this piece of gear, my setup would be complete. Or, wow, I really need this piece of gear because it can do da-da-da-da-da. And that's completely normal. We have all fallen victim to it, and it affects everybody, so no need to feel bad if it happens to you. However, one of the most challenging things a musician can do, and it's something that we're always attempting to do, is to avoid gas. Be happy with the gear we have and use the gear we have to make music. It's easier said than done. There are a lot of tips and methods for dealing with it out there. I've posted several already here on the channel, and today I'm bringing you a new one that I've started using lately, and I've had some pretty good success with it. It basically involves being negative towards a new piece of gear that you want. And really quick, when I say new piece of gear, the gear itself doesn't necessarily have to be new. It can be even an older piece of gear, just adding something that's new to you. And like many concepts presented here at Freebeat, while this one might seem pretty shallow on the surface, if you really get into it, you can go pretty deep with it and take it in lots of different paths and kind of branch it and make it your own technique for dealing with gas, so I encourage you to do so. So with that out of the way, let me tell you about a piece of gear I have been sort of lusting after. It's the Roland MC-101. You might know I recently got my hands on the Novation Circuit tracks and did not really care for its workflow, and recently returned the Novation Circuit tracks. And since then, I've been looking for a piece of gear to fill the void as my portable music-making device. I have gone back to using the OPZ for now, but I have been looking for something to replace it. That's when I started getting a bunch of comments from people telling me to look into the Roland MC-101, which is exactly what I did. And on the surface, everything looked great. All the demos I watched of people were fantastic. The sounds were great. I love the Roland sound engine and the form factor of the device. In fact, I was about ready to pull the trigger on it when something inside said, Freebeat, take a step back and try a new approach to buying gear. It's time to try something new. And what I wound up doing was basically only examining the negative aspects of the device, my dislikes. I try to keep things pretty positive here at Freebeat, so this was a little different for me, but it wound up working really well. So normally when we examine a piece of gear, we do look at the dislikes, but often they are also alongside the likes, the pros and cons, if you will. So when we find something we dislike about the product, we tend to be like, well, it's a trade-off because, and then list a positive or a like. And I found that by completely disregarding the positive, the like side of things, the negative things seem to pop out a little more and can provide us some extra clarity when making our final decision. So I had my list of positives and negatives, and what I did is I cut that list in half and completely pushed the positives out of the picture. I started asking myself, are these negatives a deal breaker? Can I live with these negatives if there were no positive trade-offs to them? And those negatives for me were that the MC-101 takes AA batteries. It doesn't have a built-in rechargeable battery. It uses a clip-based workflow with no overall like arranger view or full, visible song mode or anything like that. There's only 16 pads on the MC-101, so you use the same pads to sequence as you do to actually play the synthesizers and drums, and it's also very menu divey on a whole. Now, of course, the main reason I was looking at the MC-101 was to fill the void of a portable workstation in my setup, something that was small and I could take with me and make music on the go. So in that context, I examined just those negatives, and I decided that 3 of the 4 negatives were deal breakers for me. I do not like having to replace AA batteries constantly or deal with recharging AA batteries. I'd much prefer to have a built-in rechargeable battery that I can charge using a USB power bank or my car, both of which I frequently have with me when I'm traveling. Having just 16 pads to sequence and play the notes with is also something I've come to realize is a big deal breaker for me. I really enjoy being able to play the full keys while still choosing where those keys go on my sequence or in my recording. And the MC-101, like I said, unfortunately just has the one set of 16 pads, so that's not exactly possible. And also, I'd be using the device on the go, so having to menu dive is really not ideal, especially if I'm working outside and everything is dependent on that tiny little screen, and trying to navigate through many submenus and get to the things that I need was just not an ideal situation. I did decide that, I probably can live with a clip-based workflow, especially at the price point of $500. It's probably wrong of me to expect a full-blown arranger view, and so I decided that that factor was not limiting enough to be a deal breaker. However, the other three factors were, which ultimately led me to my decision of passing on the Roland MC-101. And really quick, I don't want anyone to take this as me hating on the Roland MC-101. If it's a device that works for you, that's awesome, and I know it can be pretty powerful with a MIDI keyboard as well to control it. That's just not something I want to take with me on the road. So yeah, nothing against the Roland MC-101. It looks like an awesome device. It sounds great. And if you enjoy using it, then double thumbs up. More power to you. But back to my thoughts. By just looking at the negatives, I was really able to zoom in on each one, so to speak, and see if that, resonated with me on a level that maybe I wasn't aware of yet. How do I feel about batteries and portable gear in general? How do I feel about clip-based workflows? How do I feel about menu diving outside? That was honestly a question I had not asked myself before this process. And I'm really glad I did, because I feel I was able to learn a little more about me as an electronic musician, and even more of my likes and dislikes, which in the future is only going to help me eliminate more bad purchases. Something else to note is that this method of thinking would not necessarily have stopped me from buying the Novation Circuit tracks. On paper, it has everything that I wanted in a device. And I really underestimated how much I was going to dislike and just flat out not work with the different drums on different patterns and still having to switch between those. I did a whole video on why I returned the circuit tracks, but yeah, I could not have predicted any of that. So this method is not foolproof. You still are going to be susceptible to bad purchases from time to time, but it sure helped me learn a lot more about myself as an electronic musician, and more of my likes and dislikes, which, as I said earlier, that's only a good thing. The more you know about yourself, the less susceptible you are going to be to gas, which is what this whole video was all about. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know, what is your favorite method to deal with gas. Let me know if you give this one a shot, and if you learn anything new about yourself, and if it prevents you from buying something, maybe helps you out a bit. Maybe it helps you buy something. Who knows? That's always an upside as well. Sometimes gas can be a very good thing and can lead us to a device that changes our lives. That's what happened with me and the OPZ. Yeah, this was a good gas purchase, which I will be doing a video on in the near future, so stay tuned for that. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If so, be sure to go ahead and leave a like on it. If not, you can always leave a dislike. That's okay too. Doesn't hurt my feelings, just makes me try that much harder next time. Either way, be sure to hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. Thank you so very much for being here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.